and welcome to another in our continuing series of professional development training sessions in the Amplification series for Coleman University. Today we will discuss Turnitin assignments and the means of ensuring that they work properly in your classroom. We will not be examining the Turnitin reports on student work or using any of the tools within Turnitin. Those have been covered in earlier training sessions. This training focuses on getting the settings right. Moving forward from our previous courses in Turnitin management, we will now take an overview of the Turnitin ecosystem. We will look at the settings and procedures that affect the use of Turnitin in classes. We will also look at what happens when those settings are incorrect. Finally, we will see how to modify an assignment. In order to appreciate the impact of Turnitin settings, we need to understand the ecosystem in which it exists. The first thing to realize is that Moodle, at least our instance of Moodle, resides here on campus in California. The most important item in our Moodle instance is the gradebook for the class. How information is entered into the gradebook depends on the settings given to activities such as assignments. Turnitin, however, resides in servers in England. What goes on with their software is proprietary and protected, a black box. Because there are two complete systems, there are actually two sets of settings that need to be aligned in order to make Turnitin assignments work the way we wish them to. What we have to do is create a pipe between the two systems to allow data to flow both ways. The settings let us do just that. The first set of settings is in Moodle, on the front page and under the Turnitin assignment itself. These settings affect the value of grades in the gradebook and the times and dates when the link to the assignment will be visible. These settings are reached through the gray gear icon when the editing function is active on the front page. A second set of options exists within the assignment itself. These are reached by clicking on the assignment link and then finding and clicking on the yellow pencil icon. This second set of settings relates to feedback, when feedback is returned from Turnitin, grading options, and which repository to use for review, along with when the pipe will be open for data transfer. More on both of these later. One source of confusion is the way the two systems grade papers. In Turnitin, papers are typically given marks, a 100-point basis, although the instructor can change this basis if desired. In Moodle, the assignment is given a certain number of maximum points as a grade. What happens is that the percentage value of the grade marks in Turnitin is multiplied by the maximum grade point value listed in the Moodle gradebook for that assignment. This is what gives the student their final grade. For instance, a student who you give 90 out of 100 marks in Turnitin will see a grade of 18 out of 20 points in the Moodle gradebook. Both are 90%. What happens is that work is turned into Moodle, which is then sent to Turnitin for plagiarism assessment. The instructor grades the work in Turnitin, and that grade is then piped back into the Moodle gradebook and converted as necessary. As you can see, there are a lot of moving parts in this one assignment activity. For things to move smoothly, all settings have to be made correctly. Let's take a look at those more closely. With editing on in the front page, click on the gray gear icon associated with the Turnitin assignment and you can change the following settings. You can change the name of the assignment and the file type and size allowed. You can set the way that Turnitin looks at the papers, including when the report is available for students, which repository the paper will be stored in or checked against, and what aspects of plagiarism or grammar you wish the system to look at. As with all assignments, you can set the grade for the gradebook in Moodle, determine when the assignment link is active, allowing students to submit their work, and set up any restrictions, such as required preliminary activities, before the work can be submitted. Finally, for calendar purposes, you can set when the activity should be accomplished. Think of it as a due date. While most of the options available through the gray gear icon are the same as they are for any other assignment, Turnitin does have its own special section, as shown here. Selecting options here can have a dramatic impact on student experience with Turnitin. Coleman University has a policy that allows late work to be submitted, but the default for Moodle Turnitin assignments is that they cannot be submitted late, meaning the link will be dead on the completion date. We need to change this to yes if you plan to accept late work. If you decided to allow your students to repeatedly submit draft copies of their work in order to have them remove any instances of plagiarism, you need to change the settings here. Otherwise, with the defaults, the student may submit the first draft with a 20% similarity rating and then submit a corrected second draft that has a 97% similarity rating because the system says the student plagiarized from his or her earlier work. Depending on the circumstances of your classroom, the type of assignment level or student experience, you may want to modify these options. Excluding things like bibliographies and quoted materials or very small quotations can dramatically reduce false positives in the plagiarism assignment. Instructors who enjoy a little extra help in grammar grading can get it by making selections toward the bottom of the list of options. These options also make it easier for instructors to provide detailed and consistent feedback on grammar. The restrict access works as it does for other assignment activities. Remember, it only restricts access to the assignment link itself on the front page. If, when making selections, you ever have a question over what that selection entails, click on the gray question mark icons next to the options. A pop-up will appear with greater detail about the option. You may also wish to look in the Moodle Direct handbook. Moodle Direct is what Turnitin calls these Turnitin assignments. Shifting gears then, to reach the Turnitin settings, you need to click on the assignment itself on the front page. On the page that appears, there are 4 tabs. The first tab is a summary of the assignment settings. The grade's posted date is the date when all of the markups should be completed and submitted to the Moodle Gradebook. Also included is the maximum number of grading marks, the basis for the grade. The default is 100, and you can leave it at that, or if you wish, modify it to equal the number of points for the activity in the gradebook. This is also where you'll find the Edit button, the yellow pencil icon, but note, quite often it is hidden. We'll show you where it is in a moment. The second tab allows you to submit a paper for a student. For instance, if a student emails you his or her paper because that student cannot access the site, such as a late work submission when the default No Late Work option is active, if you wish to, you can select that student's name and submit the work as if you were that person. That way, the student will still receive the feedback, and the grades will go to the proper student in the gradebook automatically. The third tab is the Submission Inbox. This is a large table that allows you to look at the individual student's work, grade it, and leave comments. The final tab provides you some of the other options available within Turnitin. You need to ensure that you save any changes you make and allow time for Turnitin to sync with Moodle. If there are multiple student assignments involved in the change, this may take a few minutes. Only when the system indicates that the sync has been completed should you close out of the window. Here you see the 4 tabs as they normally appear. In this case, the instructor has chosen to make the assignment worth 50 Turnitin marks. As we said earlier, the Turnitin Edit button is often missing on the initial view of this page. You may need to maximize the window in order to see the yellow pencil icon. Clicking on the yellow pencil opens up a window for modifying the settings in Turnitin for this assignment. Remember, Turnitin controls the opening and closing of the data pipe between the 2 systems. So if the assignment in Moodle says the assignment link is available from the 1st to the 5th of the month, but the setting here was incorrectly set to the 10th through the 15th, data will not flow into Turnitin, at least not when the students and the instructor thought it was going to. The submitted work would go through on the 10th, but it would not be of much help. This is how the max marks are modified. Again, remembering that this is the basis for the percentage that is sent to Moodle to determine the number of grade points for the assignment in the gradebook. The default of 100 is fairly easy for most students to understand because the number in itself becomes a percentage. It is important to check your course shells before term start. While we do our best in Webclass to roll over all of your content, individual assignment dates are not adjusted when we copy material. Webclass will reset your Turnitin assignments for you, so all you need to do is modify the dates in the two settings and verify the points and options you desire. Note, if students begin submitting to a Turnitin assignment on a class that we copy over for you and you start receiving multiple errors with deadlines and repositories, it is possible that we missed that reset. What reset does is disassociate your Turnitin assignment from the prior course and associate a new instance of it into the Turnitin database. Otherwise, what happens is your students are in effect submitting work to last term's course, not their current one. Please send us a trouble ticket if this is the case and we can reset it for you. Although we don't recommend it, you can reset it yourself by following our How to Reset guide. Most of the common errors we see are the result of mistakes in the dating, either in the Moodle site or the Turnitin site. When the dates and options are not aligned to the data pipe, it is blocked when students believe it should be opened. Restrictions imposed on the assignment itself, such as completing a preliminary activity, add another level of complexity. Students may complain that they cannot access the Turnitin assignment, when in reality the problem is not with the Turnitin assignment itself, but that the student has not completed the required preliminary activity, which would open up the link. If students see the link but it is gray, this is often the problem. If student review dates are set too far in the future, students may not be able to access their work after it's been graded. Students may not understand why it is that they have 90 points in the Turnitin assignment itself, but only 18 points showing in the gradebook. A good practice is to explain how the grading occurs with your students before they submit the work to minimize the confusion. The best practice is either to leave the Turnitin basis at 100 marks or match up the point value in the gradebook with the number of marks available in Turnitin. By leaving the default of 100 marks, instructors have more granularity in their grading than if the points were matched to, say, 20. It is easy to take a point off for each spelling error out of 100 possible marks, but it is far more difficult to do so out of 20. Another issue occurs when faculty wish students to submit drafts through Turnitin prior to the final assignment, but did not set up the repositories correctly, which results in artificially high similarity reports as students are assessed against their own work. Instructors who plan to use Turnitin assignments often in their courses should take a look at the Moodle Direct Turnitin Handbook, copies of which are provided with this training. Next week we will discuss outcome assessments in general and the two tools available in Moodle that can help us with that assessment. Faculty is an integral part of any assessment program, and you are strongly encouraged to join us. Until then, enjoy your teaching, and we look forward to seeing you in a month. Good luck.